The EFF set themselves a target of exposing the true nature of President Zuma and the Gupta family relationship before the end of the year, and they achieved their objective through the state of capture report that was made public this past week. The allegations of corruption around this relationship have led to the DA lodging a complaint with the public protector and has united various political parties, including the ANC stalwarts, against President Zuma. The deputy president of the Economic Freedom Fighters, Floyd Shivambu, says the tentacles of the Gupta influence reach inside cabinet and that the ANC is paralyzed to take any further action. He says the Judicial Commission of Inquiry recommended by the Advocate Thuli Madonsela will reveal a shocking extent of corruption in this country. Floyd, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate your time.
No, thanks.
And we spoke to you earlier this year. It was in the lead up to the elections. And again, yourself, your organization, Economic Freedom Fighters, in Parliament, made a promise that Guptas must fall. You disrupted the president's speech and people wondered where that was coming from. And we'll also take you back to December, a few days after the former minister Nhlanhla Nene was dismissed from his position. You wrote a long piece which outlined what was going on in the country and was still to happen. But frankly, not many people at the time thought that we will be where we are now, where the public protector has now released the report, State of Capture, as it is titled. And we're taken aback by what we're seeing now.
Yes, no, look, we had been saying for a very long time now that South Africa is run by a criminal syndicate which is centered around the Gupta family and controls Jacob Zuma, the president of the ANC. And everything else that we've been saying has been confirmed now with evidence by the public protector's report, because we knew for a very long time. Actually, our knowledge of the whole criminal syndicate backdates even the formation of the EFF. Like even when we were still in the ANC, we from the beginning said that this is a criminal syndicate. We raised it in official platforms of the ANC. I mean, like the media platforms. Like I know when I was a spokesperson of the ANC Youth League then, we never agreed to speak to the New Age and all these other media platforms which they've created now, because we knew from the beginning that this is a criminal syndicate that is running South Africa. And we've been raising this inside the ANC. And even when we're outside, we kept on raising that our country has been captured by a criminal syndicate that is self-seeking, that is about self-enrichment, and they do everything in a criminal way to seek to enrich themselves at all costs. And that is what we've been saying.
Here's the point. So you say it goes back several years ago, right?
Yes.
Even the times when you were still part of the ANC Youth League yourself and Julius Malema and others, right? But the ANC has not raised this matter or has not been forceful in trying to deal with it as compared to yourselves. Why is that? And because it tells us that the ANC leaders knew all along what was going on.
Now look, like a bigger number of the ANC leadership has been captured and is controlled by the whole Gupta criminal syndicate. And they are afraid to speak openly about it. And actually, it's a reality that defines the ANC. Like the headquarters of the ANC in reality are in Saxon World. That is where decisions are taken about ministerial deployments, about so many things. Even when the cabinet was constituted in 2009, already the Gupta family knew who is going to be a minister of what, and literally called the potential ministers to tell them that we're going to make you a minister of this, we're going to make you a minister of this. We spoke about it then that, for instance, Fikile Mbalula, that he was going to be appointed as a minister of sports when there was a change at that time. And he then denied it publicly. But under oath with the public protector, he confirmed what we have been saying, that the family is in control of our country and they're doing that to enrich themselves and Jacob Zuma. That has been happening. And it's a very sad reality that we have got people who have fought for South Africa's political freedom but agreed to be deployed by family to go and steal government resources. Like, look, the events that happened with the Des van Rooyen, they take him through corruption induction for 7 days. in their house every day and tell him this is how we're going to steal money, we're going to utilize municipality assets as backup of the money which we have to go and raise internationally, and if we fail to pay the debts, those whom we have taken the money from are going to seize the assets of municipalities. And he agrees to do that. And it's one of the things that get to happen. I mean, Nhlanhla given a position to be a Minister of Finance, the first African Minister of Finance to be appointed. And less than 12 months into his job, he just gets fired like that. And the ANC doesn't do anything about it. And it's some of the things that must be looked into. And then the president of the ANC lies openly to them to say that I removed Nhlanhla because I want to deploy him to BRICS Bank. And they don't do anything about it. So we have got a paralyzed organization that has been taken by
because
the
this is one of the questions that people have been asking. Why wasn't Nhlanhla fired anyway? Because it looks like you've got to go to the EFF to understand what's going on in the country these days.
No, look, he was fired because they wanted to take charge of National Treasury. So National Treasury controls huge assets and huge interest in South Africa. They've got control of all the key resources, the Reserve Bank, the Public Investment Corporations, the Financial Services Board, the Financial Services Commission as well. It's like everything else, like they're in control of the key financial instruments. And the Gupta criminal syndicate wanted to capture that, and they couldn't do it with Nhlanhla. And then they tried to do it with the Deputy Minister of Finance, Mcebisi Jonas, and he honorably rejected them even when they were giving him an offer of 600 million and all sorts of promises. He said, we cannot be part of your capture and control of the state in the manner in which you have been doing in many other parastatals. And now it comes out in the open that their only aim is to control the state for their own benefits. And that is one of the saddest reality in South Africa. And if the ANC doesn't take any meaningful decision, we are going to a deeper crisis because they've not stopped with their looting intentions and program. On Wednesday, Cabinet approved the nuclear purchase process, like the procurement process of the nuclear deal, which is going to cost South Africa more than R1 trillion, which is more than South Africa's budget overall for everything, for teachers, for nurses, for schools, for everything, for roads and everything. They want to buy a nuclear program, which has been proven beyond reasonable doubt through proper research of the Parliamentary Budget Office that is not affordable, is not necessary, but because the Guptas have got interest in it, they've got a uranium mine, they are forcing it through. And what do? Then they say that the procurement must be handled by ESCOM because they've appointed the ESCOM board. They've got a puppet called Brian Molefe, who works for them, who literally stays in Saxon World every day, is in constant communication with the Gupta family because he reports to them and he has to give them the contract to build the whole nuclear power capacity, which is not needed in South Africa currently, and is going to cause a huge fiscal crisis.
Don't you think now, with the report being made public, and of course, some people who are mentioned in the report did their best, including the president, to make sure that it is not made public. Now the public knows what's going on. And initially, when you yourselves as EFF tried to raise these matters, people would ask, where's the evidence, right? This is what the public protector has been able to uncover. It's not a complete report yet, but to some extent, it shows the level of the Gupta influence in the public affairs. Don't you think that should persuade government to reverse some of its decisions or to call off this whole thing? Because the recommendation in the report, for instance, says the president must institute a judicial commission of inquiry within 30 days. So that is going to uncover more, isn't it?
Yes, actually, we welcomed the whole approach of a judicial commission of inquiry where everyone is going to be publicly interrogated about their relationship with the Gupta family. Actually, there is more to be uncovered because she has just reflected at a national scale of what the Guptas have been up to. If you check the contracts that they've been having in provinces now, in the Northwest, in the Free State, they control Ismahashule, they control Supra Mahomapile, the premiers of Free State and the Northwest respectively, they run them. Like it's their boys, like whom they send around to go and steal state resources on their behalf. So there's a lot which is still going to be uncovered of a criminal syndicate which has got a web of influence virtually everywhere. And then their plan was now to move into municipalities to take key assets in the municipalities for their own enrichment. And actually one of the things which we have not said publicly was that when we were having discussions and thought process around what should happen with the hung municipalities and metros, we then came across information that the Guptas now are moving into municipalities. And then we took the correct decision that we have to vote the ANC out of power. People can accuse us of anything and they can say that we're working with the DA and everything else, but we took a decision that wherever the ANC is being opposed by whichever political party, we're going to make sure that the ANC loses, even if we're not going to be part of the coalition governments, because we realize that we're dealing with a system that seeks to loot our resources for their own benefits. And it's one of the things that we have to look into and act decisively. Well, the whole of South Africa must have to respond much more decisively to what is happening.
Are you confident that that judicial commission is going to be instituted?
It will be instituted because there won't be a rational court in South Africa that will literally listen and consider the objections of the challenge of Jacob Zuma. It's the most rational decision that has been recommended by the public protector, and the framework which she said that the judge who's going to preside over the commission of inquiry must be appointed by the Chief Justice is the most correct one, because the Constitution, of course, says that only a president can appoint a commission of inquiry and a judge, but he is now involved. Then it must be a different arm of the state that appoints that commission of inquiry so that it deals with these matters in a substantial and clean, proper way. And ultimately, everything else is going to be resolved. And we're confident as the EFF that Jacob Zuma will end up in prison. There's no way that he will survive this one. He might have survived so many other things before. But now we've got him. He's going to be arrested. He's going to rot in jail. He's going to spend the remaining part of his life in prison for the sins that he has committed in corruption and in undermining the democratic process in South Africa.
But now, Cabinet, on Wednesday anyway, you know, there was a lot of excitement and goings on at the courts, right? In Pretoria, the Northern Gauteng Court started its work on the 1st, on a Tuesday. And it continued on Wednesday. And of course, there was the Pravin Gordhan matter, which was called off on Monday. So, those were the big issues facing the nation. What do you think is going on in Cabinet? I mean, here you are, you're talking about this, you are concerned, and you're saying from the position of your organization, the EFF, you believe that this must be stopped. Are the Cabinet ministers aware of what you've just shared with us?
Actually, a lot of Cabinet ministers are aware of what is happening. They know of the looting project of the Gupta family with Jacob Zuma. But they are very scared to raise it in front of him. They are very scared because they are safeguarding their jobs. They are scared to object to the corrupt practices that happen. Actually, a bigger number of them get convened by the Guptas to be told what must happen and everything else. I'll give you an example that there's this morning live show in SABC. All of them are compelled to go there, both minister and deputy minister, and then when they appear, they must pay 450,000 rands to appear just for like less than an hour in a television show.
Hold on, let me understand. Who pays to appear?
The ministers. So the minister, before you appear on the Gupta-sponsored television show, which is in a public broadcasting platform,
yes,
you must pay 450,000. So if it's both minister and deputy minister, they must pay 900,000. And then ESCOM even sponsors the same show, like pays millions of rands per show for it to happen. We have asked questions to all the ministers and deputy ministers in parliament to say, have you ever done business with the Gupta family? Have you ever done any transaction? And virtually all of them have responded to say, no, the only time we paid money is when we had to appear on Morning Live. 450,000 to appear
Meaning,
on a
like,
public
if you were
broadcasting
to
platform.
appear like here, you should be paying us 450,000.
Yes,
It's something
yes,
like that.
Yes, just to appear for a few minutes to say nothing. For those ministers, of course, because they've got nothing to say, they pay 450,000, and because they are forced into engaging in such. That is why the public protector says, as part of a remedial action, that there must be investigations into the SABC's contracts with the Gupta family and companies which are looting state resources through the SABC. So it's some of the things that we're dealing with, but most of these people are scared to stand up and speak against it because they are safeguarding their jobs, but also some are scared to speak because they're protecting themselves. They know that if they speak, they're going to be exposed elsewhere, that also they are eating state money on other projects. So they're scared to speak against it because they're going to be exposing themselves as well.
I referred to your article of December last year, a few days after Nhlanhla was fired as Minister of Finance.
Yes.
And Pravin Gordhan stood up to the president, in effect, what happened recently. How do you think this matter is going to unfold, or where is it going to end up in the next few months or so? You know, is it going to continue until 2019, or what do you think is going to happen now?
Look, we are going to engage ourselves in a process in Parliament to remove Jacob Zuma as a president of our country. The ANC can keep him as a president of their own organization. We don't care about what they do there. But as a president of our country, we have to remove him. We're going to engage in process in Parliament to remove Jacob Zuma. And we think that a bigger number of the ANC caucus is beginning to realize now that their president is causing us a huge crisis and chaos in terms of what is happening in our country. And then we remove him and then we move forward. Then he must face the criminal prosecutions and the Judicial Commission of Inquiry when he is no longer a president of our country, because at the rate he's going to collapse the fiscus, he's going to collapse the financial systems, he's going to collapse everything. Because once we engage, for instance, in the nuclear procurement process, we're finished. Like, the social grants are going to disappear for everyone. Teachers won't have salaries, policemen, nurses, everyone else is going to lose out because the state would have been committed to buy an energy solution which is not affordable in the current fiscal framework. So it's one of the things that we have to prevent through common political action. But majority of the ANC people, at least in the NEC, are beneficiaries of the whole patronage network which has been created and centered around the Gupta family. But we, as the opposition, are going to push that ultimately we bring him down. And we think, not even think, we believe that this time there's no way out of it. We're going to bring him down.
Brief response. You know, there are people, commentators, who don't believe what you say and say you misrepresent facts, and I want a brief response from you. For instance, I'm going to talk to Jimmy Manyi later. His view is that you yourselves might be captured by white monopoly capital anyway and undermining the process of transformation.
I really don't know why anyone takes Jimmy Manyi serious. He's a zombie of the Guptas, like, you know, Mkovu in a real sense, who gets controlled to say unreasonable things. And he doesn't even have the most basic understanding of how the state instrument and institution operate. I don't know why he's taken serious on anything. We are not controlled by any white monopoly capital. We do not account to anyone. Like, if they were controlling us, they would have given money for elections. We never had any additional income for elections. For instance, now, we utilized our own resources. We went to create debt to finance our own elections. We now have to build the councillors who have been elected. The 836 councillors of the EFF are servicing the debt which we used to run elections. So if they had captured us, they would have given us money. Yeah. And money you can see on operation and in practice that this is a funded organization. Sure. But the EFF is not funded by anyone. It's self-sustaining and funds itself. So we're not captured by any white monopoly capital. We're fighting for the sustenance of the democratic project, which has been bequeathed to us by those who fought for political freedom. And we're taking it to fight for economic freedom, and we will succeed in doing so.
Floyd, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thanks for having us.
Much appreciated.